Hey everyone, welcome back to another Outriders video. Now in today's video, I want to go over some news that was technically released yesterday about the inventory and character restoration process, when we can expect things to actually go ahead and be fixed, maybe some patches and even updates to future content in Outriders. But let's go ahead and get started right now. I do recommend that obviously that you guys go ahead and watch the video in its entirety from start to finish. And if you guys do enjoy the content, make sure that you guys go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe down below. Anyway, I'm actually talking about something that was released yesterday, and it was actually released at 1 p.m. yesterday in the time zone that I'm currently at, which is obviously in the US. And they said originally, before this article was even released, or this tweet was posted over on Twitter, that they were going to use the entire weekend to continue to monitor for any fresh reports of inventory wipes or character wipes. But yet they released something talking about so far so good before technically the weekend really even begun, especially for the people in the US. I'm not saying that the rest of the world doesn't matter. That's not what we're going to go over, because obviously they do. But it's just interesting that they released that so incredibly early for a lot of people. Now, obviously, I am recording this on Saturday. I still haven't really seen too many people's issues being still concerned with the inventory wipes and character wipes. But if you have experienced it, not that I can do anything about it, but I would like to hear about it in the comments down below. So anyway, yesterday 1 p.m. they released this tweet, and obviously that's gonna like set up a lot of like questions, probably more questions than the developers are willing to answer when regarding this. And one of the first one that it actually says is, personally, I just can't bring myself to play any longer. Just the slightest bit of information about the restoration would really put us at ease. Not asking for a when, but sorts of when we can expect it. Is it going to take a month process, or is it just going to happen all at once? Because losing my inventory has just taken it out of me. Which is actually a very legitimate question. Now they responded, you needn't to be concerned, it won't take a month-long process. The reason that we haven't shared any information or details about this, it's because our teams are continually looking into improving, optimizing, and testing it. Which honestly is a very generic response to a question. But I just want to talk about when the game was actually released, and that was released actually over 2 weeks ago. Now, a lot of people that have actually experienced this happened kind of within that first week or so. They started noticing some issues. So not only has it going to be closer to a month by the time that this is actually fully resolved, which it's going to take, so them by them saying it won't take a month-long process, but by the time that it's probably all said and done, it will. They need to have some huge, in my opinion, and this has not happened to me, so I wouldn't get anything for it, but some kind of major appreciation package for the people that have had this specific issue happen. And they have made notes and saying, and come clean and saying, hey, we know who this has happened to. We don't know exactly what was lost, but we know what because they can't replace it exactly, but we know that something needs to be replaced, and we're going to give something comparable back to you. But on top of that, they should honestly give like an entire legendary like set, or they should say, hey, here's 10 items that you can choose from. You can pick 5. So they can pick 5 that either they really want, or they can pick 5 that they just really want the mods for. They just need to do something a lot more than just the normal appreciation package, because in my opinion, for the people that were affected, they might have lost their main character, or they just haven't really played the game since then because of, one, they're just afraid that another character wipe might happen. Maybe they're just because of the connectivity issues, because we're going to talk about something else here in just a moment. But whatever reasons it might be, that character or that community base and whatever player base that has happened to might never come back to playing Outriders. And Outriders is a great game. Obviously, every game has some of their issues. We're not going to talk about that right now, but this is a major issue for players not to be able to play, especially on their main character, for quite some time. Now, obviously, another question that's asked is, and the legendary reward for playing since day one, we want to We want to ensure that the restoration process is complete and successful before we deploy the appreciation package. And like I said earlier, the people that have experienced this since day one could definitely get a much larger appreciation package for what has happened to them, or maybe a partial refund. I'm just throwing some things out there, not saying that that's what's going to happen, but I feel like something to these players definitely needs to be done, and something very positive to make them want to continue playing the game. And what about the people and players that can no longer log on to the servers? This is something that I was talking just briefly about just a moment ago. Unless they start a brand new character, is this being looked into at all? And what do I mean by that? Basically, they've been locked out because of their next response. These characters will be restored along with our restoration process. The reason that they are encountering an error is because it has been detected as having an invalid inventory. Our restoration process will restore the inventory and thus fix the characters. But not only does it fix and mess with those specific characters, but there has been reports that people just aren't able to sign in at all because of having a wiped inventory. So basically, you have a game that you paid for. Maybe you got it free on Game Pass, which technically you're still paying for Game Pass anyway. But you got it, you paid for it in some regards and retrospects, but you're not able to play the game at all. So I feel like I mentioned earlier that the appreciation package for those people that have been affected and should change and be a lot more significant than just their current appreciation package for people that have been playing since day one. Another person actually goes ahead and asks, is stats wipe restoration also a thing? Because I got my stash wiped with almost 60 legendaries, but nothing has actually happened to my equipment or my current inventory. The response is, our restoration process involves looking for all wiped items, whether they're in your stash or in your current inventory, which is actually really interesting to me because I hadn't heard anybody losing anything from their stash, and I thought I had read somewhere specifically from Outriders themselves saying that if you want to make sure that you guys keep all of your items, that you put it into your stash, that way you can start a brand new character and have access to them. So, and I thought that was a thing that I had read. Maybe it was just a reply from somebody else, but I thought that actually came from Outriders somewhere. And of course, I can't find it as of the time that I'm recording this. So that makes it really hard for me to go, okay, well, there's alternatives, but there really isn't. And this is a big deal. And I'm not saying it was never a big deal, but this is a much bigger deal than what I think Outriders themselves is actually willing to admit. Not only is it taking a substantial amount of time, but what people have lost and the time and energy that they put into it. I know how hard it is to get one legendary, but how hard would it be to replace 60 of them in the hours upon hours of gameplay experiences that they've had with the game so far? Now, obviously, there is still a lot of issues with the game, specifically with my account, the Trickster, and using the Hunt to Prey option. The skill set is not really working the way as intended, so I'm anticipating a future patch is actually going to be made, whether it's actually the server side or game side, doesn't really matter. Something definitely needs to be done with that, because I'm sure that other classes are experiencing a lot of other issues when it comes to either their skills and or attributes that are needing to be successful in the end game experience. But anyway, hopefully you guys did enjoy today's video. It's really interesting how they respond. It's very much just a generic response to any of the questions that they're asking. People just really want to be informed and stay in the loop, and they are responding to the answers, but to me the answers are just so generic. They're not really identifying any of the issues. They're just saying we'll have more information as soon as we possibly can. Well, that doesn't boost a lot of people's confidence when it comes to playing a game, especially if you have had these issues already happen to you. But until next time, YouTube, you guys keep doing what you're doing because you're already doing it, and you guys stay gaming.